Hey guys, Brian to Leverage the Goods here, returning to you this afternoon for a re-review, like an album re-review in it with what I'm going to talk about. And this is going to be for Judas Priest's Invincible Shield. It's an album re-review that I wanted to come at you for Judas Priest's final album in their discography, their latest one. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for this final marathon studio album review in the Judas Priest uh, era of music, and the Judas Priest basically albums that I've listened to since I started it, I think May 12th, and now I'm pretty much done with Judas Priest as of now. I'm going to go to KK's Priest after, and then I should be officially done. But until then, let's dive into the 14 tracks of a 63-minute record. So pretty much Panic Attack is still a strong track. I really enjoyed this one. Rob Halford's singing and his screech singing sounds really strong in this. And this was a pretty progressive metal kind of song. Good heavy metal track, so definitely rocks for sure. One of my personal favorite tracks on this record, 5 out of 5. The Serpent and the King is a strong track for what I listened to. Really dug this one for how it sounded execution-wise. And Rob Halford's singing and the guitar solos are pretty solid in this track. So, great song for sure. Another 5 out of 5 that I personally can dig and get on board with. Invincible Shield is a 6 minute and 31 second track. The title track is pretty lengthy, but it is a pretty strong track in its own way. It's one of my favorites for sure. Rob Halford sung it pretty well and did his high pitched singing close to the end of the track. That sounded very strong. And overall, the heavy metal sounds with the guitar riff and the drum work is very strong. So, 5 out of 5. Devil in Disguise is another strong track from what I listened to. I really dug this one. Wasn't sure if I was going to get on board with this, so give me a second. I got to pause the video. Sorry about pausing the video, guys. My mom needed my assistance for a moment, but pretty much Devil in Disguise is a strong track from what I listened to by Judas Priest. I really enjoyed Rob Halford singing in it, and just the overall guitar work and drum work is pretty strong in this. Another 5 out of 5. Gates of Hell is a really good one too. I really enjoyed this one for how it sounded overall, and just execution-wise, yeah, Rob Halford's singing is very strong in this, and just the way that the guitar riffs come off and the drum work, it's pretty good. I was really enjoying the progression in this track with the heavy metal sound. So 5 out of 5. Crown of Thorns. This one was a pretty good one too. I really enjoyed this one. I know it's like almost 6 minutes of a song, like 5 minutes and 46 seconds, but it is enjoyable from what I listened to. Rob Halford's singing in it is pretty strong. It's a little more melodic of a track, but it works for how it sounds, so 5 out of 5. As God Is My Witness is a very strong track too. Really enjoyed this one for how it sounded execution-wise. Rob Halford's singing and all that is pretty good. The progression with his vocals is pretty good too. And just overall, this track amazed me. Sorry, I'm petting my cat right now. But execution-wise, I think the guitar work and drum work is very strong in this. So another 5 out of 5. Trial by Fire is a good one too. Really enjoyed this one for how it sounded, and just the way Rob Halford's singing and high-pitched singing close to the end of the track and some moments in the track sound very strong, and just execution-wise, this track rocked for sure. Another 5 out of 5. Escape from Reality. This one's pretty good in its own way. It's not one of my personal favorites from what I listen to, but it is solid in its own way. It's a 4.75 out of 5. The way Rob Halford's singing it from time to time is alright for the most part, but the execution is where I had a little bit of bumps in the road with listening to it. So Like, there were some really strong moments and then a few weak moments during the track. But it overall executed alright. 4.75 out of 5. Sons of Thunder. This is a very short track. It's like under 3 minutes, about 3 minutes at least. But it's a strong track in its own way. I just have a few critiques with this one, with how it's executing, with Rob Halford's vocals, because there's some moments in the verses that get a little underwhelming, but the chorus is pretty strong in its own way, so 4.75 out of 5. Giants in the Sky is a strong track from what I listened to. It's the closing track on the regular edition, but it is a strong closing track for the regular edition. And Rob Halford's singing sounded pretty good for this one. The outro to it is pretty strong from what I listened to. And overall, it did pretty well as a closing track on the standard edition of this record, so 5 out of 5. Fight of Your Life is pretty good in its own way. It's not one of my favorites, but it is pretty strong for how it sounded execution-wise with Rob Halford singing. And some of the verses were a little underwhelming, but not terrible in its own way. It's still strong, but has some underwhelming moments. But it's overall a 4.75 out of 5. I almost said 5 out of 5 for Fight of Your Life. Sorry, I'm getting a little drained right now. I'm a little tired. But still doing this review just to finish up on it. But overall, yeah, 4.75 out of 5 for Fight of Your Life. Vicious Circle is a strong track. Really enjoyed this one for how it sounded. For 3 minutes and a second, you're in for a pretty strong track. Rob Halford's singing is very good in this, and just guitar work and drum work wise, did very well for how it was sounding execution wise. So I'm really digging this. 5 out of 5. The Lodger is the closing track on the entirety of this record, and it is a pretty good closing track, but it's not one of my favorites. It's probably the number one least favorite on this record. It's not terrible, but it's not one of my personal tracks I can come back to a lot. It's solid, so it's a 4.5 out of 5. So overall, production, mixing, and execution-wise, I would say this is a pretty good record. It's still going to get the same rating I gave it back in 2024. I thought it was going to be something I'd grow attached to a little more. And there were some tracks I did grow attached to for this record. Sorry, my nose is a little itchy. But overall, the Lodger is or Invincible Shield. I'm saying the wrong thing by mistake. My headspace is a little disoriented a bit. But overall, Invincible Shield by Judas Priest, their 19th studio album, is a pretty good record in its own way. I did enjoy some moments in this record. Like, Panic Attack was my personal favorite, Invincible Shield. The first 8 songs are very strong. And then you get a few good tracks towards the end of the record. Like 2 tracks, like Giants in the Sky and Vicious Circle being pretty strong tracks. But there's probably like 10 out of 14 songs I can really come back to a lot more than the other 4. But Lodger is my least favorite. I don't know, I wasn't connecting with that track for some odd reason. It was how the melody was sounding overall. It did sound ominous, but it wasn't a bad closing track. It's just a good closing track to end the whole entirety of the record. So if I were to give Judas Priest's Invincible Shield for this album re-review a score, I'm feeling a 8.5 out of 10. Same rating I gave it when I reviewed it last March. It was March 8th of 2024, or somewhere around that time period when I reviewed it. But it's not bad. It's just pretty good of a record. It's not going to be top-notch to Painkiller or Firepower, but it's still strong in its own way. So, yeah, 8.5 out of 10 for Judas Priest's Invincible Shield for this album re-review. I hope you enjoyed this album re-review for Judas Priest's Invincible Shield. I'll have the KK's Priest 2 albums coming out tomorrow and the next day. Probably going to listen to KK's Priest after this review. But until then, thank you guys for watching the Judas Priest Marathon Studio album discographies for Judas Priest's albums. There are 19 albums that I just finished up on. I really appreciate you guys watching it and supporting the channel, and definitely, if you guys want to join the channel, feel free to press the join button and on right by the subscribe to the channel and all that, and hit the notification bell. But pretty much, yeah, 8.5 out of 10 for Judas Priest Invincible Shield. I hope you enjoyed this album re-review, and thank you guys for watching.